This is huge for the New York Mets. As you may or may not know, it is part 2 of the Subway Series. Yankees coming to town. Juan Soto facing his old team at his true home of Citi Field. It's bring back Mike Piazza, Roger Clemens vibes. We are ready, as unfortunately for the Mets, the Yankees fared better in the first half of this series, taking 2 out of 3 over there at Yankee Stadium. But they're coming to Citi Field now, so let's get going. As you're seeing this video, it'll probably be just a couple of minutes before first pitch of Game 1. So get ready, and let's go Mets. Unfortunately, however, we do have to go over some negative news before we get into this. That being that the Mets pitching staff is dropping like flies, so how is that going to impact them in this coming series? We'll discuss it. I'll also talk about my personal opinion, how I think the Mets could have made 2 moves going into this series that would have benefited them a little bit more, given that their offense really has to be hot in this series. And of course, we're going to do a pitching and lineup preview for this series, so stay tuned, as all of that is only coming on Mets Digest. I'm your host today, Mike Duda. I'll take you through all of it, but first we got to talk subscribers, and that being that 67.3% of you that watch these videos aren't one. So please do me a favor, do us a favor here at Mets Digest, and hit that free subscribe button. That way we can bring content to you about the amazing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right into this with last night. The Mets are coming into this series pretty hot. They just took a series finally for the first time since June 12th, as Ryan Stanek was electric, as was Edwin Diaz. Look at Stanek. He's the man, yelling off the mound and all that. David Peterson was wonderful in that game. Mets won 3-2. Go ahead and check out Adam's most recent video if you want to hear a little bit more about this game and the series win against the Milwaukee Brewers, as the Mets took 2 out of 3. So they coming off a series win, finally. Yankees, on the other hand, definitely not. For the first time in franchise history, they went up to Toronto for a 4-game set and got swept. So, Yankees coming in ice cold. Unfortunately, however, it's pretty even coming into play. Both teams 6-14 in their last 20, and both in second place in their respective East divisions. The Yankees, of course, in the American League East, just 1 game out, and the Mets in the National League East, just 1.5 games out. So pretty even coming into play, but when you look at the pitching matchups, it's not as even. Mets have the best chance today. I'm not going to candy coat it. The Mets need to win a baseball game today. Marcus Stroman on the mound. He's made 2 starts for the Yankees this year, above an 8 ERA, including a really bad start against the Giants that I was actually at, believe it or not, which was pretty funny. But this will be his first start in a Yankee uniform against the New York Mets. Of course, he pitched for the Mets previously, but in his career against the Mets, he is 1-1 with a 4.76 ERA in 17 innings pitched and 3 games started. So not very solid to pair along with a not very solid regular season so far this year. He's going up against a bullpen by committee guy in Justin Hageman. And unfortunately, due to all the injuries, the Mets are going with 2 bullpen by committee games in this vital series and rivalry series. That's why I believe the Mets bats need to be so awake and alive coming into play against the Yankees. We'll discuss that in just a little bit. But let's go Hageman. Let's go Met bullpen, even though Jose Butto is indeed injured and won't be pitching this series. As for Game 2, it's Carlos Rodon taking the ball for the Yanks, a sub-3 ERA on the season, and he's making his 3rd start against the Mets in a Yankee uniform. The previous 2, he went 2-0 with a 1.69 ERA in 10 2/3 innings pitched over those 2 games. Frankie Montas on the mound for the Mets. He had 1 great start and 1 really, really bad start. So hopefully we get a great start from Montas. He has to step up in Game 2 of this series. And of course, to close it out on Sunday, Max Fried versus TBD. Now, TBD for the Mets is likely going to be Brandon Waddell, as that's what I'm hearing for the New York Mets, but they haven't made anything official, so of course anything could happen, hopefully including bringing up a top prospect, but we're going to hear in just a second from David Stearns how that likely won't happen. As for the Yanks, it's going to be Max Fried. He's having a Cy Young-like season, arguably the favorite over there in the American League for Cy Young. And it's not much better against the Mets. In his career, this is going to be his 2nd start in a Yankee uniform against the Mets. And in his career against the Mets, he has been wonderful, pitching a ton with the Atlanta Braves. 9-5, 2.50 ERA in 115 innings pitched over 25 games. So the Mets are going to face some tough pitching. I'm not going to lie. But I think if the Mets can pitch correctly to the Yankee lineup, which we're going to hear in a second, I think they can end up winning, especially if they draw good counts. They beat up on Stroman today, and they just hit, and they do what they're supposed to do. This is an offensive-led team. Coming into the year, a lot of people are saying, look at that Met offense. They have to step up today. But to continue a couple more things with the starting pitching, let's hear from David Stearns about how he doesn't want to bring up top prospects. According to Anthony Tacoma of MLB.com, he says, quote, David Stearns says his, quote, preference is not to call up a top prospect, like Nolan McLean or Brandon Sproat, quote, for a spot start. While he didn't rule it out, Stearns indicated he'd prefer other options right now, with both Kodai Senga and Sean Manaea due back from injury soon. Manaea is going to make his last, hopefully, rehab start later this week or early next week. As for Kodai Senga, he is making a rehab start tomorrow, which hopefully will be a one and done, or maybe he'll have another one before the All-Star break and come back after the All-Star break. But unfortunately, that obviously leaves the Mets with a TBD on Sunday. Hopefully, Stearns changes his mind and brings up a guy like Sproat or maybe McLean, because both of them have been doing really well down there in AAA Syracuse. Go ahead and check out my Jose Butto injury video if you haven't already. I talk about that a little bit in that video. But we'll see. Hopefully, we can get a prospect to go up against Max Fried. If not, we're going to have to ride with that bullpen. But unfortunately, that bullpen's pretty hurt. Brian Stanek right now, 2 innings pitched. He's been electric. No earned runs in the month of July, but he has pitched the past 2 days, 32 pitches. So in all likelihood, he shouldn't be used today. But because of how thin that Met bullpen is, he might have to. And same with Edwin Diaz. 2 1/3 scoreless over the past 2 days for him, 37 pitches. But again, he's going to have to probably pitch. And that's one of my keys on the pitching side of things. Obviously, the first key, Frankie Montas, he has to pitch well. He has to be that starting pitcher that David Stearns went out and signed to a nice contract. As for the bullpen, you really need Diaz and Stanek to be as ready as possible today in case they are needed, because if it's a save situation, I see Mendy going to Diaz for the third day in a row. I don't see a world in which you can go otherwise because of how incredible Edwin Diaz has been. As for my other one, look at the number 1 guy on that list. Look at the number 5 guy on that list. Huascar Brazovan and Reed Garrett, you need to step up facing the New York Yankees. It's very simple. They have been really, really bad as of late. They have to get back to that start of the season form that they were at when they were incredible. It's plain and simple. Those are my keys on the pitching side. But of course, the offensive side of things is really where it's at. And for me, it's the top 4 guys in that lineup. Obviously, you want some production from the bottom of the lineup because it really hasn't done that all year. This would be a great time to start it. But the 1, 2, 3, and 4 are key for me. Let's start off with Brandon Nimmo, who was recently moved to the leadoff spot by Carlos Mendoza, which I think was a great move, as by the way, these are the lineups for today's game on Friday. Happy 4th of July at 3 p.m. So, Brandon Nimmo leading off. So far, he has been really, really good in that spot, and preferably in his last 15 days. He has been awesome. A 315 average, 351 OBP, 593 slugging, good for a 943 OPS over those last 15 days. Francisco Lindor, he has been great career against the New York Yankees, preferably in a New York Met uniform, so he has to show why he is the starting shortstop for the National League in the All-Star game. Prove to me why. Keep playing well against the Yankees. In a Met uniform against the Yanks, Lindor is hitting to a 309, 429, 630 slash, good for a 1.059 OPS, 6 dingers, 18 RBIs, and 81 at-bats in 21 games played. Great. Keep it up, Lindor. Show why you're an all-star. Juan Soto, this is arguably my biggest key. He was terrible against the Yankees in the first series back at Yankee Stadium. He went 1 for 10 with 2 runs scored, 4 walks, 3 Ks, 2 stolen bases. He was not Juan Soto. I need to see Juan Soto hit some extra base hits. I need to see some RBIs. I need to see a homer or 2 from Juan Soto. Prove why you love the Mets and why you don't want to be a Yankee anymore. Let's go, Juan. All right, last guy that we got to go over, Pete Alonso. He's got to heat up. He has been ice cold the last 7 days. 217 average, 280 OBP, 304 slugging, good for just a 584 OPS. So he has to wake up as well. And the top 4, like it has been for most of the season, they have to be that anchor. They have to step up if we want to beat the Yankees, because it's really got to be a slugfest with how injury prone this New York Met pitching staff is. Let's turn it over to the Yankee side of things. This is very simple. The 1 and 3 in Dominguez and Bellinger, they've been okay this year. The 4 through 9 has been pathetic for the New York Yankees. They all are not hitting above 255. None of them are hitting 255 or higher, with the exception of Paul Goldschmidt this year. But Goldschmidt has been ice cold of late, a 179 batting average and 568 OPS over his last 30 days. So nobody in that 4 through 9 scares me. Dominguez, I think, is okay, and Bellinger is hot and cold. All right, whatever. Do not take your chances with Aaron Judge. Carlos Mendoza last year was the only smart manager who was walking Aaron Judge. Nobody was walking him in his MVP season except Mendy. Mendy, you got to go back and do the exact same thing this year, as Judge has been even better. 364, 474, 734 slash line for a 1.208 OPS, 31 dingers, 70 RBIs. Judge has been absolutely lethal. You need to contain him, and by doing that, walk him. I don't care. Put him on base. Now, I mentioned in terms of the lineup, I think there were a couple things that the Mets could have done, and the first being, I love Hayden Senger, don't get me wrong. I think he's a solid defensive catcher. But you got to bring up Francisco Alvarez at this point. Here are his statistics in AAA Syracuse. He's got nearly an 800 OPS. He's hit 3 dingers in 10 games. He's got 6 RBIs. I think he's gone down enough. I think right now is the time to bring up Francisco Alvarez because the bats are just so needed in this rivalry series against the New York Yankees. I said this in my last video. There is nothing more in hate in sports, nobody more in sports that I hate more than the New York Yankees. And in life, I don't really hate many more things than the New York Yankees. So let's go all out. I want Francisco Alvarez to be the backup catcher to Luis Stearns in this series in particular. And this is possible. We can actually do this. Go to MLB Glossary. They say, quote, upon being optioned to the minor leagues, a position player, which Alvarez is, he's a catcher, must remain there for a minimum of 10 days before he is eligible to be recalled to the major league roster. He was optioned on June 22nd. It's been 10 days. Bring him up. And if you say, I think Senger's been better, look, it's just wrong, especially offensively. Look at those numbers. Every single thing from WAR to games, plate appearances, to batting average, OBP, OPS, and OPS plus. Francisco Alvarez has been better than Hayden Senger. So that's why I want Alvarez up for this particular series. Bring Senger back down. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like Stearns is doing it. And also, unfortunately, it doesn't look like Stearns is bringing up Jesse Winker. RotoWire staff from CBS Sports says, quote, Winker, with an oblique injury, has gone 2 for 6 with a home run and a 2-to-1 walk-to-strikeout rate in 2 games since his rehab assignment was shifted to Double-A Binghamton. He started off in Brooklyn. The veteran outfielder played 9 innings as the designated hitter both Wednesday in the first game of a doubleheader and Thursday, while the Mets will likely want him to get some defensive reps before activating him. Winker's bat appears to be just about ready to face big league pitching. He's been sidelined since May 4th, and Winker should slot into the strong side of a platoon at designated hitter once he comes off the IL, while seeing occasional action in the outfield corner. Now, I get it. Mendoza and Stearns did not grow up Met fans like Steve Cohen, our owner, did. But you gotta play the Yankees like they're the Yankees. Nobody likes the Yankees. Bring up Winker. You said that he's MLB ready already. I don't care about his defense. Mendy said this earlier. I said this before. I've quoted Mendy. Mendy said, I don't really need his defense. I need his bat. So bring his bat up. Bring him up for this series. I don't know why they aren't doing so. Down there in Brooklyn, he went 1 for 1 in 1 game with a double. And you heard the stats in Double-A. He's played 2 games, 2 for 6, 1 home run. He's got 4 RBIs and 2 walks. And the quote said it. He's ready to face MLB pitching. I want Jesse Winker up right now. Bring down Hayden Senger if you have to. I don't know. Bring down Travis Jankowski. I think Winker's bat is a must. I think this is a mistake for the New York Mets. Mistake or not, however, we have a massive series coming up in just a couple of minutes. So let's go Mets. Let me know down below. Do you agree with my takes on Alvarez and Winker? How you feeling coming into the Yankees series? And unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you today. Thank you so much as always for watching. And more especially than ever, let's go Mets. Come on, let's go Mets. Let's beat the Yankees.